So it seems we're on the verge of another Red Scare. I mean, as long as it's a winning message for the Republicans, right? Felon 47 won't shut the fuck up about what he sees as the radical reimagining of the Democratic Party by speaking about communism in several recent appearances. He was at the Faith and Freedom Coalition on the 26th of June, and he said, "They're animals. We have to stop this terrible threat of cancer that's permeating our country called communism." And then he went on to call communists godless in a room full of Christian conservatives. Continued the attacks on the 29th in a White House news conference where he insisted that New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani was not a democratic socialist at all, but a communist. "I think it's the biggest threat to our nation there is, maybe since our founding." He said that. "That includes World War I, World War II, September 11th, and Pearl Harbor." Can't believe we even have to talk about this. If you haven't noticed, the Democratic Party barely want democratic socialists in the party. So why on earth would they suddenly be welcoming Marxist theory with open arms? Wouldn't. Well, let's talk about the differences between communism and democratic socialism. Communism, of course, is a term popularized by Karl Marx. It is a form of socialism that's focused on seizing the means of production for the purpose of public ownership and use. There are different versions of communism, but in Karl Marx's form of communism involves a few people controlling everything that happens in society. I mean, democratic socialism is similar, I guess, but different. Democratic socialists also believe in government control over the economy, over capitalism. But democratic socialists also believe in democracy, as opposed to an authoritarian regime, the government and therefore society. It's the funniest thing is that Republicans can see extremism in everyone, but fail to recognize it in themselves. And while I admit the Democratic Socialists, they want really radical policies like Medicare for all and universal child care. The Make America Great Again movement has stormed the Capitol and decimated the social safety net in favor of terrorizing immigrants and the trans community and starting a war with Iran that doesn't help any of us, and it wrecked our economy. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure communists do exist in the United States, but their political power is extremely limited. Instead of fighting for a revolution, they seem to mostly fight among themselves. Their actual candidates, not democratic socialists, but actual communists, never seem to pick up political traction. Say that they're conniving radicals to take over the Democratic Party is stupid. It's both ridiculous and incorrect. They'd have to convert their theory discussion into action in order for that to happen. Republicans are terrified of communism. Democrats also seem pretty fearful of the power that this message wields, right? Because they refuse to acknowledge that the DSA is even a faction. Many refused to support Bernie Sanders during his presidential bids. Many Democrats were so afraid of any kind of affiliation with something radical that they didn't even endorse Zoran Mamdani, even after he became the nominee. The failure of the Democrats to stand up to the claims of the extremism in the party is kind of troubling. The Democratic Party has to get on message and at least say, I mean, are you fucking serious? We're not communists. Otherwise, a message like that could stick. And at worst, we could be on the verge of another McCarthy era, when the federal government, empowered by the fear of a boogeyman of their own creation, begins infringing on civil liberties like free speech, due process, in pursuit of scourging the country of radicalism. Because this seems to be the route we're on. NSPM 7, they're actually training people in our government to go after leftists, people who are sick of capitalism, people who have a free Palestine flag in their window. Is that where we are now? Merging our fucking military with you-know-whos? They know. The American public says no. We're sick of it. We say, fuck you and your G-sides. We don't want to be a part of it. Don't use our fucking money. If this happens and they merge our fucking military with theirs, it's time we just stop paying taxes. We will start paying to the state, and we'll start having parallel systems, and we'll say, fuck you to the federal fucking government. All together. They're going to privatize Social Security anyway. So anybody who thinks, that the checks aren't going to stop, yeah. All right.